Alright, what's going on, guys? Today I got a video for you guys on basically just laying out what a US infantryman, mainly in the Army, would have had or possibly even used in the year 1944. So this is kind of this isn't a D-Day impression video. You're not going to see like the Ranger assault vest or the rubberized gas mask bags, like anything that like you would go into D-Day with. This is more or less a video on year 1944 when things really started ramping up. Obviously, the invasion was sent in. So this isn't going to be a late war 1945 impression video. Kind of like the sweet spot between early and late war, when in the late war, kind of all rules and regulations on how soldiers wore things or used were kind of just thrown out the window. So today what I did was I just pulled out some stuff, mainly just options that people could have used, or some items that may have been different, just not really heavily used, just to kind of show you guys what was out there. But more or less, this is just a rundown of just standard equipment for infantrymen in 1944. So starting off, we got the uniforms. The right to left, it's the M41 jacket. The middle and left ones are the HBTs. They're just different variants and shades. So obviously you have the lighter shade being in the middle and the darker shade being on the left. That's just how companies push them out. Some, just with everything that was made in World War II, everyone tried to do their part. So there wasn't really a specific set way of doing things. Obviously, like companies that weren't really designed or made to be making uniforms all of a sudden had to start making uniforms to help with the war effort. So different companies did things a little bit differently than others, hence why you have kind of two different shades here. But going into a little bit more in detail, this is a M41 jacket. So as the name would just tell you, it started production and issuing it out in 1941. But saw service throughout the whole entire war. This particular one happens to be, I threw a 26 YD patch on there. It's the Yankee division, and they were a National Guard unit located out of New England that got activated for the war and saw some action out in Europe later in the war, mainly towards the era we're talking about today. Or the time period we're talking about today, sorry. But yeah, it's a standard typical M41 jacket. It's got a wool liner in it. Inside we have the wool shirt, enlisted man shirt as they called it. It's just standard wool. These were also typically used by themselves. So you could have had any variation of these three uniforms used. Some may have just ditched a jacket and just worn this. Some may have had this underneath the M41, like I have it displayed right now. Some might have had no shirt underneath, and they just wore the HBT underneath the jacket. Some may have not even used the jacket at all. It was really all preference based off either the individual or if the unit had a specific standard that the soldiers needed to meet to kind of keep them all uniform and whatnot. But like I said, towards the end of the war, as things started getting kind of, the war started dragging along, people stopped really caring. So anyways, your shirt, and then inside some wool trousers. Now, when I say wool, it's not like thinking of old school, like maybe Civil War wool or kind of like that. It's like a little polyester blend almost. Like, I'm not sure what the material is, but it's not like heavy wool. It's pretty light. Moving HBT uniform here. This particular one happens to be a second armored patch on it. That's just how I bought it. But yeah, like I said, you got a light shade and a dark shade here. Both the same, just different shades. You got the trousers on the inside here that had pockets like at your thigh, kind of. There was no like standard how we have pockets today, kind of at like where your normal pocket goes. It was just at the thigh, and I believe, if I'm not mistaken, yeah, there's no butt pockets either. So it was just all thigh and Those are the only two pockets you were using. But it was all made out of same material, which I think it's called herringbone twill or something like that, hence the HBT name. But stars on there, 13 stars, obviously 13 colonies, so on and so forth. But really nothing difference between the light and the dark shade, just two different colors. So coming down from uniforms, we'll touch up on headgear real quick. Like I said, there was many more things they could have used. I just have two of them for you here right now. Obviously, this one being things they almost all of them used, if not every single soldier out there. The M1 helmet. So the M1 helmet was a liner pot system. So this metal piece on the outside was your pot, and then on the inside, this is your liner. Different companies made liners, so they vary in how they look. This particular one is someone wrote their name and their number in here, their serial number. So that's kind of a cool piece of history to it. But they were just made out of pot metal. They're just made out of pot metal, and the liner it could have been fiberglass, whatever. Different materials were made through different companies. And then you got the chin strap here to hold the liner in, and then your chin strap here in the back that was used as your like a chin strap, but not, again, those were typically just fastened in the rear to prevent people from pulling on your helmet to take you and your chin strap along with you, or just to keep it out of the way. Here we have a standard GI cap, wool knit cap. These were also seen in pretty high volumes. It's a very comfy hat to wear. I wear this personally whenever I'm doing World War II stuff any time of the year, just because when it gets a little nippy outside at night, it's good to have, and then obviously in the cold, it's really good to have. So just two typical things that they would see them like out on the front lines with. Like, they're not going to be wearing their garrison caps. I mean, like I said, a lot of them did. It is all personal preference, but these are two of like the most, I would say, most used ones regularly, I guess. Coming down from that, we got footwear. So here we see three variants of the footwear. Obviously, we got the service shoes, rough outs, and buckle boots. Service shoes, these were kind of a descendant of the World War I trench boots, like the Pershing boots, minus the hobnails were replaced by rubber soles. These were typically worn in fashion with the leggings. Obviously, the leggings fastening over the top of the boot like so, and worn with the trousers tucked into the leggings to protect the wearer of insects, water, mud, dirt, grime, whatever have you, getting on the individual's feet, because happy feet equals happy soldier equals doing what they're told, I guess. So yeah, this is obviously made of leather, so as you can see, these are original, so them being used, the leather's already starting to break in and kind of be in poor shape. But obviously soldiers fight rain or shine, so leather being how leather is, it tends to break down, and you can imagine walking everywhere and being in a combat environment. These aren't the sturdiest boots to have in that environment. So they came out with these, the rough outs, kind of made of like a suede material, suede leather almost. So what they would do is they would take a dubbing and they'd dub the whole material on the outer boot, and it would make it like semi-waterproof. Obviously being able to handle conditions a lot better than these service shoes. So depending whether or not a soldier get his hands on these, or if the quartermaster was able to issue these out to troops, or even if they troops preferred these better, you would see a variation of the two being used. These were actually also used by Marines over in the Pacific and Army as well. But the main difference between being the Boondockers and the Army's version is one says U.S. Army, and then the rough outs have a different kind of sole on the bottom. But obviously those were used more heavy in the Pacific because of obviously the conditions they are fighting in. So leading into the buckle boots, using these leggings, for anyone that's ever used them, can attest that they are just a pain to use. Every time you put it on, you have to fasten these up, throw your buckle underneath your boot. It's just a pain to use it. So soldiers would typically just say, to hell with these. They'll get rid of them, or they'll just put them underneath their trousers. They'd kind of half-ass it because it's just a pain to have to do those every time you put your boots on and whatnot. So the Army, being as bright and smart as it is, it came out with these double buckle boots. So almost identical to the rough outs in material, and with the same leather soles as kind of these ones. They basically just slapped these buckles on top so soldiers could put their trousers in here and just buckle them like this. So you put it on like a normal boot, and the buckles would do the work of the leggings that were no longer really favored by the troops. These were seen pretty heavily towards in 1944, towards the end of the war, and into 1945. But like I said, this video is mainly just options that were out there, stuff that was still used, because 1944 they were making that transition from early war gear into late war gear. So just a matter if they got their hands on it, or if their particular unit could get the shipments or the supplies they need to the front lines to that particular unit. So all of the stuff you see here today is just options, I guess you could say. So with that being said, one of the options here is the gas masks. These are both gas mask bags. This one you probably would see rubberized. So if anybody's seen Saving Private Ryan or anything D-Day related, that black thing that's usually sitting on their chest is just a variant of these. However, it's rubberized. So this being canvas, it's not very waterproof. So what they did is they went ahead and they rubberized it to make it a little bit more waterproof. So when you put that gas mask on, it's not really contaminated or messed around with per se. So this is like an early war canvas material that does the same thing as that M71 does. Now this one is a lightweight one, so it should have. This one does not, however. It should have a leg strap that comes around here, straps to your leg, and then a waist strap. However, soldiers being soldiers, they always find a way to become lazy, and they would take out the leg strap, and then it would be used and fashioned into a sort of makeshift GP bag. So they would often lose the gas mask, and they would use these as another bag. This one happens to be an OD color, so more of a green color, because that's when they started experimenting with that color towards the end of the year, and we started seeing different shades of stuff coming out. So people started moving away from the khaki color we know as OD3 to more of an OD7, which is this, and that's just the name of the dye that they used. Coming down to web gear, I laid out a couple options, so it really all depended on what weapon you were issued. Typically, NCOs were issued the Thompson, M1A Thompson, which was a 45 caliber submachine gun. Weapon crews, so say if you were on like a 50 cal team, mortar team, you'd maybe be given an M1 carbine just because of its small, lightweight maneuverability. But if you were just pretty much GP, you'd either be issued a Springfield 1903 or maybe even an M1 Grand. Regardless of that, you would use the cartridge belt here. If you were issued any other ones, you'd use the pistol belt here, and you would slap on your source that would hold the ammunition. So for Thompson, you'd have your cell pouches, or even a bag that you would throw your pouches in, your magazines in. Sorry. And then the carbines had their own pouch. But here, so this is a belt you would use, and then on it is just a simple canteen. These came, some of them you see without brim, some of them you see without this black cap in place of a stainless steel cap. There's a cup in there, but really, it doesn't matter what model you got or how it looked, it held water. You drank from it. It did its job. Moving over, like I said, we got the two kinds of cartridge belts. So this one is original. This is actually goes to my USMC impression. I just pulled it out because it's an original, and it's supposed to be that khaki color. It's just kind of just a shitty repro. It's that late war, more green OD color. But these would be fashioned with the suspenders, the M1936 suspenders that were used pretty much throughout the whole war. As I said, as troops went later on in the war, through the war, they stopped really caring about uniformity and how gear was supposed to be worn. So typically sometimes they would dump the suspenders and just rock the belt, and you would see these haversacks, which are kind of just a pain in general to put stuff in and fasten and do whatever, kind of disappear. These were in use really since the World War I. It's just a different kind of model of it, with a meat can pouch right here, which would hold your mess kit and utensils obviously inside. But these kind of just saw away, and that's why I said like they'd find new ways of carrying stuff, like in those gas mask bags that were just mainly more comfortable to move around in and to carry long periods of time. So basically, however you were comfortable is what you went with. So on this, you have these little grommets where you would put your canteens, your first aid kits, whatever you could really put on there, your bayonet. Like I said, it was really all kind of getting towards personal preference towards this point in the war, as regulations started going out the window. But with these cartridge belts, you needed to have a weapon to use, and these, I have two weapons here today, or kind of some options, just kind of standard infantrymen. So this is a bayonet here. They fasten either or, and obviously, if you know anything about World War II or weapons in general, you obviously can probably identify this. This is an M1 Garand. This particular one is a Springfield, dated from October 1943. But I'm not going to get too much into these because these are going to have their own separate videos later on. I just wanted to show you, obviously, your two selections. And you also have source ammunition here. So these are 30-06 rounds. These are modern rounds, hence why we have the different color tips. You wouldn't really see that. It would all basically be full metal jackets, or FMJs, sorry, and they would have just kind of just a whole brass tip. They also did have tracer rounds, so they would have a tracer on the top, which, when fired, would shoot out the barrel and would leave a tracer trail. You can see where your rounds are impacting. But they came in 8-round clips like this on an M-block clip, and you would put them in here, and then whenever you needed it, you'd pull it out. Some soldiers even started slinging them on suspenders or slings, like so. You just kind of run the rounds through whatever, and they'd sit there, and then when you need them, you'd pull them out. But yep, so this is the M1 Garand right here. Both shoot 30-06. You load in through the top, rack it back, load in through the top, push down, and you decompress the follower right here, and then the bolt would go forward. This one, however, this was mainly used in early war. Marines kind of hung on to these for a while. Sharpshooters were also given these. But this is bolt action, so rounds would come to you via stripper clip. You push them down, load them through here, and as fast as you could rack this bolt back and forth, that's how fast you get rounds off. But yeah, so that's everything. Like I said, I just pulled some a couple things out here just to show you guys different options, different stuff, different things that were used in World War II, circa really 1944. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you guys learned something. Maybe saw something that you didn't know. Maybe had some inspirations to try some things on your own personal kit if that's what you're starting to do, or just learned about World War II today and basic soldiers' equipment and uniforms. Stay tuned to the channel. I'm gonna be pushing out videos on different stuff. Like I said, I already have some videos planned for my weapons that I have, and some more gear videos. But please, guys, if you want me to show you guys anything in particular, just tell me what you want, and also give my Instagram page a follow. I'll leave the link in the description. But other than that, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Remember to comment, rate, and subscribe. Catch y'all later.